All right. Hello, everyone. This is my first YouTube video, and I still haven't thought of the title for this video or the name for my channel, but you know what? I have a phone and I can press record, so here we go. So I'm going to start with laying out the foundation of how this video is going to be broken into, and then I'll yap about myself for a little bit. But to get started, this will be broken down into 6 chapters. Number 1, you want to relearn how to learn. And I'll touch a little bit more on that on chapter 1. But if you're lucky enough to you're still kind of young enough, you're not like a veteran in the industry or whatever, then you probably don't need to. But even then, I would still dedicate about a week or two to really kind of laying the foundation for how to optimize your learning protocols. Chapter 2 would be making this your priority, or what I would say your one thing. This is your one thing, all right? Like nothing else should be getting in your way. And I know there's nuance to that, so we can touch on that too. Number 3, if you're doing number 1, this will tie into that, but test yourself. And I'm not saying do practice problems, I'm saying genuinely test yourself, and I'll go into the resources in that chapter, but test yourself a lot. Number 4, prioritize your health. And this is one I wish I would have done more then, because I basically skipped the gym throughout the journey of studying for the PE Power Exam, but I would say that would have done a tremendous difference for my mental health too, had I not done that. But definitely prioritize your health. And a lot of people won't like this, but chapter 5 would be utilize AI, artificial intelligence. I use Gemini, and it was amazing, like what its capabilities are for helping you. And so chapter 6, I would say, if you can afford it, buy a course. And you don't need it, but for me, with optimizing everything else and not having to think about any guesswork about what to study, this definitely made a huge difference for me. But I just want to introduce myself a little bit. So I graduated in June 2022. I went to the University of Denver here in Colorado. Denver, Colorado. I got my Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering. I started working straight out of college at this massive EPC firm, and yeah, it's like top 10 for the Engineer 500 or the ENR, whatever. We'll touch more on this, but I actually just changed. I'm transitioning roles right now. Monday, actually. Today's Saturday. But I also passed my FE electrical exam on my first attempt without any courses, just me and my notes and my college textbooks. So yeah, I have right now I have over 4 years of experience, and so I can apply now. But at the time, I had passed in March 2026 the NCEES PE Power Exam, and it took me personally 4 months. Actual study time was 3 months. I skipped all of February, so I started in November, studying November. So November, December, January. Didn't study February, and then took it in March, mid-March. So I took a couple practice exams leading up to the exam. And yeah, so I passed on my first attempt, and I'm really proud of myself for that. And I just wanted to share some things, because I feel like I haven't seen that many people talking about the PE power specifically, and the ones I have seen just don't feel as relatable, because, well, I'm 26 years old, and I feel like I'm on the younger side of things compared to how many professionals I see passing. They tend to have 6, 10, 20 years experience out of school, and it's intimidating to me. One, it's just not relevant. A lot of them have families, and I don't have kids. So a lot of what I might say might not be relatable to you guys. But hopefully this will capture some of you. And I know for sure there will be something here for each of you. So, all right, let's dig in. So, chapter 1, relearning how to learn. Now, this is super important. I actually bought the book here with me that I got. Very, very, very first book I got. This was my first resource. Wasn't any textbooks or anything. It was Becoming a Studying and Learning Machine by Peter Hollins. I don't know who he is, but I figured I've been out of college for a little bit, and in my opinion, time is precious, and if I could be studying 12 to 15, 18 hours a week versus 20 to 30, I'm gonna go for the 12 to 15, 18-ish max, So yeah, one thing that, obviously you read the book for yourself, but one thing that I remember is the STIC framework, STIC, and that's spaced repetition, where you're spacing out your learning consistently, maybe at first a little more frequently, but there's evidence to suggest that, obviously when you first learn something, the curve at which you forget it is pretty fast, but if you touch on it again, maybe like a day or two later, it gets brought up to the same baseline peak that it did before, but the drop off is much slower. And so now maybe instead of the next day, in 2 days, again, you repeat the active learning session. And by active learning, I mean you're studying and you're doing active recalls. You're not passively engaging in the subject that you're learning. And then eventually becomes to where maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks, and at the drop off of where it's beginning to let go from your mind, because obviously your brain is trying to protect you, and it's not thinking about the exam necessarily. It's trying to think of resources, and it wants to clear that, right? So you got to actively keep coming back to it. So that's S. T is testing, and that's why I said it ties in with chapter 3. But test yourself a lot. Test yourself on what you're learning. That's the best way to assess where you're at and what you know. I is interleaving, so that's tying in concepts that you're learning about one thing with another thing that's kind of similar, right? So if I'm learning about voltage drops, hey, well, you know what else touches with that? Ooh, transformers, right? So I could kind of switch topics from, maybe I get bored about learning about voltage drops and voltage regulation. Now I start learning about transformers, and guess what transformers has? That has voltage regulation, specifically like auto transformers. So it's you can start tying things in, and then when I'm looking at power quality, or again, we can talk about the voltage drop issues. Then maybe I get bored of that. I can start learning about capacitors instead, right? So it's a way of just learning different topics that are similar, and they're gonna still help you learn the other topic too, but also the different topic you're learning. So it's kind of like synergistic in a way. It's harmonious, if that's the word. And then C, which I didn't do as much, but it's there, is categorizing. And that's just basically grouping a bunch of topics under a main topic, and remembering that one main topic kind of helps you remember the subtopics. If I'm explaining that correctly, I haven't touched in a while, but yeah, so I read this. It's only like 180 pages. And honestly, I only have like 3 sections that have most of my notes for this. So that's one. If you don't want to read a book, that's perfectly fine, because either you can ask Gemini for resources of how to learn, or you can have it show you how to learn, because it'll do that. Or a YouTube channel that I really liked, and he definitely helped a lot, was Dr. Justin Sung on YouTube. And there's things that I learned there, like mind mapping, which I'll show as an example, like what I was doing. It wasn't perfect, but it's something. And he had this like study with me, like where he's doing the Pomodoro technique, and through him I found the focus music using the binaural 40 hertz beats that actually helps engage your brain more. So if you don't want to read this book, watch Dr. Justin Sung. Again, there's no sponsors to this or anything. It's just he helped me a lot. I subscribed to his newsletter too, and I read all his things and took his like little quiz thingy. And yeah, like I think tying all of those in, you guys will be able to, for yourself, be able to make the best like note templates that you can. If you're doing it through a notebook, or like the way I did it was through a tablet. I have the S9 Plus, and it's a phenomenal tablet. I think the S11 Plus is out now, which I want, but obviously I'm not gonna get right now, because it's just a waste of money. But yeah, like I use digital notes, and I organize all my notes through there, and I can just copy paste my templates, and that's how I learned. Really helps speed things up for me. And the reason this is super important that you're doing all this, taking at least a week or two to do this, is because you're gonna save yourself a bunch of studying time. All right, like probably months, because I did it in 4 months, and I see people who take 6 months to a year. And I think if you optimize everything, if you can, you're gonna save yourself a lot of time. Learn how to learn, or relearn how to learn, whichever position you're in. Okay, so that's chapter 1. Chapter 2. This is a little more straightforward, but make this your number one thing. Or as what I'm currently reading, make this the one thing for you. This is the one thing, all right? Like, whatever reason, like, you don't need to make excuses for why you shouldn't be doing this. If you know that you require it, whether it be for career progression, promotions, potential growth, credibility, whatever it may be, just this is the thing. By telling yourself that, and not just telling yourself, but making this the thing, you are essentially prioritizing solely this. And that helps you establish the boundaries for your schedule, your calendar, and social settings, hanging out with friends, whatever, in that you're protecting this time, right? This is the thing you need to do. There's nothing else. You need to pass this exam, right? I think you need to set a clear expectation for yourself that nothing else, not that nothing else matters, but this is the most important thing for that next step in your career or your life. I would say protect this at all costs, and make sure that you're scheduling your study blocks and you're fiercely protecting that. Okay, whether it's during your lunchtime, if you're doing, it's suggested that we do what is it? What did Dr. Andrew Huberman call it? Ultradian cycles, where our brain focuses for its peak capacity for about 60 to 120 minutes. I just went to the middle, 90 minutes, and in my calendar daily, 90 minutes after work at a cafe. So the energy of the environment would give me that energy to study, because everybody else was studying. kept me focused, and it worked. And during weekends, 2 to 3 sessions of 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and then in between, I did 20-minute breaks. I think I did like 1 to 3, so maybe it's 20, 30-minute breaks. But protect that, and it's a non-negotiable. It needs to be daily. Okay. So that's chapter 2. Chapter 3. This ties in with chapter 1, but I need to reiterate, test yourself a lot. Because I took Wasim's course, Study for FE, I got access to I did his 6-month bundle. So I got access to exams number 1 and 2. I also purchased the NCEES PE Power Exam, the official practice exam from the people who proctored the exam, and a couple of the Engineering Pro Guides exam, and the Zach Stone AIT, I think all-inclusive type item questions, 80-question exam, and the technical study guide and practice exam that he has. From my experience, I'll just rate these right now. Wasim Study for FE, exam number 1, much easier than the exam, and exam number 2, much harder than the actual exam. I shouldn't say exam number 1 was much easier. Exam number 1 was about closely tied to what the actual exam felt like. The NCEES official practice exam, it was a little, maybe 5 to 10% harder than the actual exam. The Zach Stone AIT was harder because, all of them were AIT questions, so if you miss one, the whole question's wrong, right? I'd say that was much harder. The technical study guide, I won 5 questions in, and in my opinion, it was like, this is nonsense, because it's much harder than the actual exam, and for me, that doesn't make sense to study for something much harder than the actual exam, because you're not preparing for something it's much harder. I don't think it makes it easier. You want to see questions that align to the actual exam. So I didn't find that book useful. I just have it. The Engineering Pro Guides, I took exams number 4 and 6. The style of questions are a little different, which is good, because we want to see all ways that a question could be worded. I actually got like 2 to 3 questions from those exams that were pretty similar on the actual exam. So it's hard for me to rate those, because I took them in a public setting in a local coffee shop, and also both times there was a crying baby, and both times I finished it in 3 hours. With no break, right? So I did barely pass the exams, like when I self-graded, but I would say it's on par. I'd say like those are pretty on par. I'd say Wasim's and the Engineering Pro Guide exams and the NCEES official. If anything, at least the NCEES official for sure. They're all pretty closely aligned, and yeah, those are the ones I would do. Chapter 4 is, like I said, this is the most important one in my opinion, but prioritize your health. Health is wealth. This is one I did not do that well. I definitely enjoyed myself during this time period, and the way I thought of it at the time was, I don't want any cortisol spikes but the ones coming from the exam. In hindsight, it would have benefited me a lot more to have continued my routine, because I'm a pretty serious weightlifter. 5 sessions of 20 minutes. Ideally, 7 sessions of 30 minutes. Mixed of medium zone 3 training with zone 2 training. Why do I say that? This is why. Whenever you're doing cardio, Okay. You're helping your blood pressure. You're helping drive blood to the brain. You help the vascularity. You help your joints. You keep yourself in a better mental state and a better sense of well-being, right? And also, cardio gives you, helps output BDNF, brain-derived neural factors, and this helps with learning, and it helps with your brain health. So in the context of the exam, they would have been really beneficial. And also now, weightlifting is going to help. Weightlift not just for your joints and for the stress and anxiety, and to get better sleep and to have more muscle and to be able to eat more, right? To be more jacked. But for me, I think the most important part was for stress and mental health. It helps you offset a lot of stress you might have in other parts of your life into the iron room. So I just think both of these combined, really could have been beneficial. And if you don't have that locked in, I would say please lock it in. It's going to help you a lot. Okay. If you guys like energy drinks, I was taking Gorilla Mind, the energy drink, about 90 minutes after waking up, and then I would start studying. And the ingredients in there kind of are why. But if you don't want to take an energy drink, you can just drink coffee. So caffeine, lion's mane mushroom, alpha GPC, huperzine A, and acetyl L-carnitine. I think these are all something you guys can look into. Fish oil. These are all just good for brain health, neuroplasticity, BDNF production, and I think it's going to help you learn a lot quicker, and kind of keep the brain, nice and wrinkly. So that's chapter 4. This is the one that I know, AI slop. Yeah, I know. But now that that's out of the way, I use Gemini. I got the 6-month subscription, and I still continued it. I got the 6-month free trial, but I'm still continuing to pay for it because it helps you learn, and in so many ways that you just don't know until you apply it. Okay, but you can use the Feynman technique with Gemini, right? So you can explain and teach it, and then at the end have it grade you on a scale of 100 and have it give you what you missed. I think there's that, and then you can also have it pull in all the best resources if you're not using a course, but it can give you like the Steve Chapman Electromachinery, like that was one of the textbooks that it was giving me, or Glover's power system design analysis book, which I really like chapter 9 protection on it. It was really good. And it can also give you like the best channels to watch, you either for learning or for the topics on the PE, or whatever you may need to optimize your learning and save yourself a lot of time so you don't have to do the digging. And then last but not least, chapter 6. If you can afford it, it's a little dry, I would get a course. So I personally got Wasim's Study for FE, which sounds a little, he has a PE course, but it's under studyforfe.com. I got his PE course 6-month bundle. The reason I got the 6-month bundle was because it had the online live classes and both the exams. And also because I knew I wanted a little more than 3 months just in case. So 6 months was kind of like the perfect boom. So I kind of reverse engineered it. So I booked the exam date first, and then that's when I started looking for the course. So I booked it for March, I think it was March 13th. It was like a Thursday. And and I just worked it back for like 4 months, and then that's when I got Wasim's course, and it was in November. Um, so the reason I also needed a course is because as much studying as I could do, there's one thing I knew that was going to be in the exam that there's no way I could learn unless you have industry experience in this, and that was using the NEC, or also known as NFPA 70. So I use the NESC a lot. I've used a lot of IEEE ANSI standards. I've used a lot of Go 95 standards. Just ran ASTM, but I haven't really used that much NEC because I don't work on the post meter side of things. On the customer side, I work on the utility side. So I was like, okay, shoot, I need something to really hone that down for me. And Wasim's course beautifully laid out the foundation, broken down on each chapter or the biggest pitfalls for the NEC. Cut off for a little bit. But I loved Wasim's structure, and I think that was probably the best part. Obviously, since we're trying to optimize the calendar and get everything aligned for me, I didn't want any guesswork, especially looking through the topics from the NCEES practice exam and the handbook. I knew that I couldn't approach this like the FE exam, in that, oh, I already know all this, I can just skim through and just do the practice problems. So now I was like, okay, I need structure, and I don't want to have to dig through different textbooks and be able to know, okay, is this relevant? Is this not? And just because this is being tested on here, like, doesn't mean that some other topic might not be there. And I'm not gonna lie, that handbook is kind of BS. And by that, I mean, I didn't really need to use the handbook much at all during the exam. I mean, there's nothing on protection control on it. There's nothing on substation other than the substation grounding, which is really easy because it's just a straight calculation. But there was really not much, and a lot of the questions that, maybe they show you the handbook that are why they had the transformer as a delta, or the system as a delta, so it wasn't really that helpful. So I'm really glad that I took the course, because Wasim explained that a lot of those things won't be in the handbook. So if I just approached it by studying what's on the handbook, I probably would have failed. And thanks to Wasim's course and him diving into topics that could potentially show up in the exam, not just things specifically in the handbook, I think was helpful. Yes, he goes through everything in the handbook, but it doesn't dive much outside of it. But he's not afraid to tackle it. This actually one of my favorite parts of Wasim's course. It was the online classes. I think for me, I really like that sense of a classroom environment, and people are here, dedicated, paying for this, so they're actually trying to learn this, and they're engaging in the chat, and you can ask questions live to Wasim, about really anything. For me, that classroom environment really helped, and I was really happy to see a lot of the other people that I knew were taking that kind of winter schedule classes with me. I saw a lot of their posts on the Wasim forum, and they passed. So I was really happy to see that, and seeing their LinkedIn too. I was happy for them. I really am. And one of them actually just messaged me yesterday. So yeah, I just love to see others succeed. But yeah, so I really recommend course. It doesn't have to be Wasim's. I mean, I know there's Zach Stone, and I'm sure he does great. I hear a lot of good things about that. And Might just be a difference of how someone teaches. And this is a bonus tip. That's the end of chapter 6. But this bonus tip, I would just really have fun with this. I would have fun with this. Treat it like a video game. Try and be 1% better every day. You're trying to get up to 100%. For me, that was easy to do with the course because I could see 1 through 100% of the completion, and I'm competitive with myself. So I like to push myself, and there are certain metrics that I like to see. So when I got a certain score for exam 1 and 2, I was really happy with myself because they exceeded what I wanted to get, and it brings a lot of confidence to myself. And it's just, we rarely have these many opportunities in our life to really hone in on something, making it the one thing, and pursuing that learning outside of college. And even college, like, you have to do a bunch of classes that maybe you're not a big fan of. So obviously, since this is your career, you don't accidentally become an electrical engineer. I would assume power in some way, shape, or form is in your nature and your passion. So you get to really dive deep, and you're not gonna get that many chances, right? And for me, it was a chance to do that in a classroom-esque environment, and to be kept, accountable by others. And it was a chance to push myself academically and mentally. So I was really happy with that. And also, I was able to kind of, because I'm young. I went to my local coffee shops. Yeah, performative, I know, but yeah, I made some study friends from there, and yeah, I just go there and be friendly and social, gets you out of the house, and keeps you engaged. Yeah, I mean, since it was in the evenings, I would go. I'd get a matcha, but those evening matchas, the low caffeine but mixed with the L-theanine that green tea gives you, there was something about it, but I was so productive. So yeah, that's the 6 pieces of advice I would give, plus the bonus tip. Just having fun with it. And at the end of the day, I walked out of there, and I knew I passed. That feeling when it all pays off is I'm still riding that high. And this was in March. So it definitely gives you a huge sense of accomplishment, and I'm very proud of myself. And not actually undergoing the application when I get that PE licensure, because the only thing I was missing was the 4 years of progressive experience. I think having that, it's just something about the letters PE. I think is just, like it's. I don't want to say the studying's done. I'm sure there's other things I'm gonna want to pursue, but it's nice. So yeah, that's what I have to say. It was a long yap session, but I just really wanted to kind of flush everything out and give you guys just the best pieces of advice I wish I could have given myself those in November to make this somewhat better experience. But everything I say, I just say in order to kind of help you, like, not burn out. And for me, I didn't burn out, and it was great timing, and I just thank God for everything. And yeah, so that's all I have for this video, and I hope to continue uploading more. So see you guys in the next one.